It's interesting, since the whole classic division came into play, everybody right away started talking about Sadiq, being a dominant force.
Yeah.
And then suddenly your name started coming up. And then you won the Pittsburgh Pro, New York Pro, and suddenly, you kind of became the favorite, So it's basically everybody's anticipating a huge battle between Sadiq and you at the Olympia.
I mean, there's a lot of good guys. It's not just me and Sadiq. There's a lot of good guys that have won shows, and they're looking good. People are getting better and better week by week. I see. Sadiq is he's got great shape. I think he could do very well. We've yet to see him in a prep or do a show. He's a big name in the industry, so I think that's why. But I definitely don't think it's me and Sadiq. It's me and Sadiq versus everybody else. There's a lot of good guys that have been winning shows and have qualified, and I think there's a lot of new up-and-comers that aren't Instagram famous or that no one's heard of or talking about, but they look very, very well-rounded. A lot of young guys that are turning pro and qualifying like that for the Olympia. So it'll be very, very exciting. It's going to be very interesting to see what the turnout is.
How important do you think it is? Obviously, him being popular on social media, you as well. How important is that to, coming into the competition like that?
It's an interesting time. I've been bodybuilding for 22 years, and the sport has evolved, and social media plays an interesting aspect to the sport because a lot of the fans are not necessarily bodybuilding fans. They're just fans of a particular person. So there's a lot of people that are fans of me, fans of Sadiq, that follow us, and they just might like the way we look or our personality or our content on social media, but they're not necessarily IFBB bodybuilding fans. So they don't really know, too much about other people out there and what's going on. So social media and that stuff is very separate. Usually the most popular people on YouTube and social media are not champion bodybuilders. They're not Olympic athletes. 20 years ago, if you wanted to be famous as an athlete, you had to be Mr. Olympia, a gold medalist. You had to have acquired something. But now the biggest faces in fitness on YouTube and social media are not competitive bodybuilders. You take Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath, he's definitely famous. I don't know how many, he's got a lot of followers, but there's people that have never stepped on stage that dwarf him as far as Instagram fame or social media fame. It's two completely different worlds, And it's easy to get lost in there. I see a lot of competitors get lost with it. I mean, if you're looking to become famous and a celebrity, I don't think you should be bodybuilding and putting yourself through this. There's one reason and one reason only to do what we do. It's because you love it. If you're doing it to become famous or you're doing it for money or to be on the cover of magazines, you're doing it for the wrong reason. You're probably not going to succeed. I don't believe you need to do this to become a star or a celebrity. I mean, you could just market yourself well and do so. I don't think it's not unfair. It's two different worlds. I don't look at it as the same thing. Social media, to a certain extent, there's some people that are a little bit more real than others, but to a certain extent, it's not real. You see what that person wants to show you. It's not a live 24-hour feed, good and bad. You see them the light that they want you to see them in. And there's been a lot of people where I was like, oh, wow, they look amazing. And even people that I was going to compete against. But then when I competed against them or when I saw them on stage, it was like, really? That's it? Because the pictures were hand-picked with a pump, right lighting in the gym. And that's not the case in reality. That's not the case on stage. So Instagram has a realm of not mystery, but of detached from reality to a certain extent. Being a pro athlete and competing at that level is completely different.
You were previously competing as a physique competitor, right? Before making a switch to the classic bodybuilding. Now, why did you decide to make that switch?
I was always a bodybuilder at heart. I planned on competing for many, many years and just put it off. When the time came to compete, a lot of my friends were in the NPC and the IFBB, and I figured, you know what, there's a bigger light in this federation. There's more to be had. It was really popular, so that's the route I went. But men's physique is where I fit in. I wasn't nearly big enough to compete in bodybuilding, so I did men's physique. At first, I didn't like men's physique too much, but as it grew, the physiques got bigger, and I was like, okay, this is what I look like. This is where I fit in. I had legs. I trained my legs. Unfortunately, we didn't show them, but I completely understand why. You know, men's physique is a brilliant division because the average person can relate to it. The average guy wears shorts like that. The average guy doesn't look like or dress, wear posing trunks and oil themselves up like a bodybuilder. So I did men's physique, and then when Classic Physique came around, it wasn't even a question for me. It was a dream come true. It's exactly what I wanted to do, and it's exactly where I fit in. So I literally did a backflip and signed up the next day. It wasn't even a question. And I did 3 pro shows in men's physique. I did Pittsburgh, placed 10th, I believe. New York Pro 5th, and Puerto Rico Pro 2nd. I was off for all the shows. I think I was the best for New York. So a lot of people say I was too big or I wasn't doing great in men's physique. I beg to differ. I think another season I would have qualified for the Olympia 100%, and I would have been fine. I don't think I was too big. I think I fit in well. I think I came in off and I did, 5th and 2nd in those 2 shows, but I failed to qualify for the Olympia.
Was it an easy transition to be in a classic division?
Absolutely. I mean, I was bigger. Even when I was younger, years ago, I had done bulks and gotten bigger. And again, I'd been bodybuilding for so many years. That was the amount of muscle I had on my frame at the time. I've grown since then. I don't train any different. I train the same. I had a nice off season. I ate more. Nutrition is a little bit different, but yeah, I don't think it was backbreaking by any means. It's look, over the years, you progress. Bodybuilding is a progressive sport, and you need to progress physically and mentally with it. And that's how you'll succeed. Most people will do this formula to get where they are and then continue to do that formula. That formula needs to change and adapt with your body for you to keep moving forward. And that's what happened. Yeah, it was a nice transition for me. I'm very happy with it. I'm happy with my size. I'm happy with the way I look. I like it better than my men's physique look.
Now, do you think one day you want to move up and get into either 212 or the open division bodybuilding?
It's a good question. I'm definitely too tall for 212. So at 212 pounds, diced to the socks, I look tiny. At 5'10" and a quarter, the 212 guys are a couple inches shorter than me. So that wouldn't work. As far as men's open, I don't know. Let's see what happens at the Olympia this year in Classic Physique. I like this size. Growing up, I wanted to be a men's open bodybuilder. I used to watch Ronnie and Dorian, and I wanted to be that big. But, it's tough. It's really taxing on the body. I don't really want to be that big. Maybe would I do men's open for a year, just to give it a go and see how I look? Maybe. I really don't know. I can't say that now. I can't think ahead. Right now, my focus is on September.
Now, right now, the Olympic Games are in progress in Brazil. And then, of course, it's not Olympic Games, and does it ever upset you, people that just don't even consider it a sport to begin with?
It's interesting because it's discredited a lot by society, but at the same time, more people do things that bodybuilders do and learn from bodybuilders than they do from any other athlete in professional sports. Your average guy that follows NBA or NFL or NHL, they don't play. They're not in shape. They don't do, maybe they played in high school or college. They just watch that, make those athletes multimillionaires just by sitting there and watching and not doing it themselves. If you love basketball so much, go play, But with bodybuilding, people will discredit it, but at the same time, they'll follow the diets and the training and the meal plans. And everybody has a small bodybuilder in them, regardless if it's come to life or not. Everybody is trying to get leaner and to be more muscular. They're skewed as far as how to do it. They look at the big mass monsters and say, I don't want to be like that. But if you do exactly what they do, if you do exactly what I do, you'll reach your goals. You're not going to wake up jacked all of a sudden. So yeah, it's upsetting, but for celebrities and wealthy people, the diets and training that they're using, that doctors and people getting in shape for movies, it's all trickled down from bodybuilding for the past 30 years. Whether people realize this or not, doctors learn a lot from bodybuilders as well. I mean, we are the masters at manipulating and changing body composition. Period. We're the ones that have done the best at it and have truly mastered it and learned what it takes over the past 30, 40, 50 years.
Would you like to see it become more mainstream?
I would love to. Yeah. I mean, the Olympia used to be broadcasted on ESPN, it's a combination, the reasoning, the fact that it's not an actual sport where a ball's not going through a hoop or there's not a team, that could be one of the reasons. People feel like, well, they're not performing anything, it's just getting into a certain conditioning. It's like, I hate to compare it to a beauty pageant because it's very different, but you're putting yourself on display. You're not actually doing something. So a lot of people will look at a sport and say, okay, tennis match, basketball, there's a ball involved, they're hitting, they have to score, so that could be one reason. And I feel like people are attracted to things they can relate to. Sometimes when you see a guy, shredded to the bone, tan, wearing a Speedo or a posing trunk, they can't really relate to that. So I can understand that,
From what I understand, you're in a relationship with Giuliana, who's the current Miss Olympia. Is it difficult to be, in a relationship with another pro athlete who's also training all the time and, into their career? Or is it easier because you guys sort of have a similar goal in place? How does that work?
Neither of us dated a competitor or anyone in the industry, so it was new for both of us. It just kind of happened. We met each other and, we were friends at first, and it just kind of, the relationship occurred, and it was definitely very convenient understanding the diet. This is the first time we're dieting together at the same time, and it's tough. We have to be understanding that, you get tired, both of you get a little bit moody. When one of you is doing it and the other one isn't, it's a little bit easier. But understanding how we eat, when she was getting ready for her shows, and I completely understand, I don't say, oh, let's go out to dinner tonight, so, and vice versa. When I was getting ready for Pittsburgh and New York, she was super understanding and very helpful. And so it's definitely helpful. Yeah, we train together, we cook together, we eat together. So it makes a big difference. Can you do it with someone that's not in the industry? Absolutely. But they just have to understand how much it means to you, and that you can't just have some grapes or some nuts for a snack while you're watching a movie, or get up and go out to dinner, So it's a little bit easier, having someone that also does the same thing.
So what is your prediction for the open division men's bodybuilding? What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to be in the top 5? Who do you think is going to win?
It's getting interesting. I like to think of myself very unbiased. I have my bodybuilders that I like. I'm a big Sean Roden fan. I'd love to see him, step it up and really bring an amazing package. I think Phil is a really, really well-rounded bodybuilder. I think he's hard to dethrone. Like sometimes guys will sit there and take Phil and another bodybuilder. I know they did it with Kai a lot, and nitpick at, this body part to that body part. And understandably, sometimes, the guy that wins, you could say, oh, these people had better individual body parts. But as a whole, Phil, I think, brings a really, really nice package. And yeah, he needs to continuously get better. But when you come in when you want to dethrone Mr. Olympia, you got to be really good. They have to be off, and you have to be really good. If all things equal, I don't think anyone will dethrone him. I'm very, very interested and eager to see how Big Ramy shows up. I don't think we've ever seen someone as big as him with such a small waist. And I also don't think he's really brought the conditioning. If the guy brought his best and brought conditioning and just kept losing, then it wouldn't be much to talk about. But I think if he really brings conditioning with his size, and it's not just he's a mass monster, he's pleasing. He's symmetrical, and he has a really tight midsection. That's what impresses me the most. So I think he can be a huge threat, definitely. So it'll be very, very interesting to see. But I think Phil is tough to beat. I think if he comes in at, in good condition, no one's going to just come and take it away from him. I'm a big Dexter fan. I've been a big Dexter fan for many, many years, not only because I'm a fan of his physique, but the fact that the guy consistently looks as good as he does for so many years. He's been in more Olympias than most of the guys have been training, more years than most of the guys that he's competing against have been training. And, it could be argued if he was bigger, he would have won, if he was bigger. But it's not just symmetry. It's not just aesthetics. It's not just size. It's not just conditioning. It's everything together. So if everything is equal, the bigger guy is going to win.
It's still going to be International Chest Day. So really, doesn't matter. And all I hear about is build a wall. We're gonna build a wall. Well, how about building a fucking gym where the dumbbells go up to 400 pounds and the lat pull down stack doesn't stop at 280? And fuck your little juice bar. How about building a full-fledged food court so I can get a triple-oni sandwich post-workout?